I often say I was blessed to be drafted to the Essendon Football Club because it's such a big, powerful club, and it was great to be there on my time. And it's a pleasure to look at the Bombers now today and the history of the club, 2,500 games, and look at that record. It's a pretty impressive record. 31 grand finals, 16 premierships. Dustin Fletcher obviously had played the most games.
Lordo?
Yours truly, yes. The goals. Which is
Do we normally put goals record in there?
It's always in there.
Sooner or later.
Sooner or later. And Brownlow medalists, look at some of the champions. 5 Brownlow medalists. I thought there would have been more, but Dickie Reynolds won 3 of them. Billy Hutchison won 2, and then Graham Moss, Wanganeen and James Hird, some superstar players there, Damo.
Yeah, and the Reynolds and the Coleman era, Lordo was a fantastic, and then Sheedy came in, and then it kicked off again with this win in the 1984 grand final against the great rival of the club at the time in the Hawthorn Footy Club. They'd lost to Hawthorn in 83. We're down by 5 goals at three-quarter time of this game. We just saw Bradbury kick a goal. Baker comes in for a couple. You'll see Paul Weston and you'll see Timmy Watson just sealing it. But an amazing quarter of football. Went back to the same venue on the same day the following year against the same club and did it all again to go back-to-back. And then obviously what happened in 1993 as well with the Baby Bombers, and again in 2000. But that's back to 84 there. It all turned around under Kevin Sheedy.
Just want to go to something in 1984 where the Sheeds played some kids. Mark Harvey was 17 and Bomber Thompson was 17 and Paul Salmon, did he miss this one, Damo, obviously with the knee?
He missed the first one.
Yeah, he missed the first one. And here's Stephen Phillips, the late Stephen Phillips, interviewing Mark Harvey and Paul Salmon the next morning.
Mark Harvey and Paul Salmon. What about the big fella next year?
Well, you know, he was part of it. He feels a bit out of it at the moment, but you know, he's part of it. We just feel
it is very hard, but you know, you don't feel a real part of it until you're not played. But
actually, just in fairness, I think it was the night of as opposed to the morning after.
I don't think it would help them.
They partied hard, TJ.
Well, no, I've never been more shattered than at the 1993 prelim final, where Dad was coaching the Crows. I know this is about the Bombers, but I was 10 years of age and they're 42 points up at half-time. It's all going the right way and you think next week we'll be in the grand final, but this team just went on an absolute tear, and of course it led them to winning the premiership. There's Tim Watson there. Michael Long gets involved. What a superstar he was. He went on to win the Norm Smith medal, but this, as a 10-year-old, was a shattering performance. Here's the grand final the following week where they destroyed the Blues, but what a comeback in that prelim final, which led to this.
Darren Buick, he was a big finals player as well. Darren Buick, Michael Long.
He's a good player, Buick,
he was a fantastic player. And there's Bomber. It was just the key figure when I first got to the club.
Just some great names there when you look at those highlights. They're no greater, arguably, at Windy Hill than a man who didn't play for Essendon, but he certainly coached them, that being Kevin Sheedy. And this particular game against West Coast, when he flew out of the box and waved that jacket, which continues as a tradition today. Funny thing was, his mum gave him a call that night and she wasn't very impressed with him. So there's the jacket waving, as I said, which continues today. Even on Anzac Day, I noticed they were doing it. This was at Windy Hill again against the West Coast Eagles when he tied the windsock down just so he wouldn't give any advantage whatsoever to West Coast. In a match leading up to North Melbourne, he referred to Dennis Pagan and then footy director Mark Dawson as marshmallows. One was pink and one was... That there, the slitting of the throat, was against Mitchell White at Etihad Stadium, as it was, and he got fined $7,500 for that particular gesture. So Kevin Sheedy is just... What's wrong?
I was saying Kane could pay it for him. $7,500.
Same number.
Anyway, so Kevin Sheedy is... I don't know if he's a legend yet in the Hall of Fame, but he should actually be the next legend.
Absolutely.
He'd have to be a legend, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at some of the great marks and goals. And Gary Moorcroft, I don't think anybody's been as high as what he got here. And it looked like he'd hurt himself and there was someone hanging around to try and get that ball on the top of the square. So poor old Jono underneath. He was just a great step ladder, was Jono. And without saying much, Lordo was an absolutely fantastic player and took mark and goal of the year as well. This is the one where you said, smile, Nico, because you're going to be on a footy card. This was a big mark, Lordo. Looked a bit wet out there too. And Brad Green underneath him as well. And then this one, just the presence of mind to flick it out the back.
Overrated goal, Brownie.
Yeah. Really overrated. Overrated like Jess's, was it? Michael Long in the 1993 grand final. This was brilliant. Sauce still claims he touched it.
Yeah.
And if we had the goal line technology that we do today, it might have been touched. But have a look at that. Runs around Sexton and then gets through and kicks a great goal. And Sauce, he's still saying that one was touched. And then James Hird kicks the goal and hugs the supporter. Have a look at this one. Imagine being that supporter. How pumped you would have been. The great man James Hird, probably just about the greatest of all time, gives you a big hug, and they were very, very excited. And then Zaharakis called beautifully by Stephen Quartermain as well, and a big Anzac Day goal.
Sensational, Brownie. And we get to the last part of the program where I want to challenge you guys or ask you guys the question, who is the greatest Bomber that's ever played the game? So let's take a look at some of the champion Bombers over the time. The first one is Dick Reynolds, the great Dick Reynolds. And I love seeing these highlights from these eras and the champions of the game who would still, be phenomenal players in this. Look at the speed there. Of the players. So there's Dickie Reynolds. That was Bill Hutchison, the second one. Timmy Watson, obviously a wonderful player. Did it from 15 years of age right through to the end of winning another flag in 1993. Timmy Watson. Simon Madden, I think, still is the greatest ruckman that ever played the game.
I agree, Lord.
Yeah. What a grab that was. This is the great John Coleman. The disappointment is that he didn't play more than the 99 games that he played, but went at 5 goals a game across those 99 games. Just a phenomenal player. Everyone used to go from one end of the ground to the other at Windy Hill to watch him. James Hird, so special. He had a will and a want and the highest work rate of anyone that I've ever seen. But for me, it's I know we didn't see him play, but John Coleman of the previous era.
Yeah, I'd be going the same. Again, we didn't see him, but equally, I love what Madden did, as you well know, and he kicked nearly 600 goals, as well as being the best ruckman ever.
Lordo for me.
James Hird for me.
Well, some would say, look, he wasn't the greatest when you look at that group, but in terms of just being a good bloke, Timmy Watson for me. I think, no, Tim was an out-and-out champion of a footballer, had that break, came back, and I think enjoyed premiership success, did he not?
Oh, absolutely.
When he came back.
Yeah, 93,
yeah. So, no, I would say that...
Did you ask him for a selfie the other day, Tim?
I'm sorry?
Did you ask Tim for a selfie the other day?
Not that I recall.
No.
We're going to take a break on that note. Well done, Lordo. That was very good. Yeah, some out-and-out champions there at the Essendon Football Club. And Kevin Sheedy is a legend, thanks to Jeff Slattery. 2018, he was elevated